So next up, podcast listeners, a California teachers union spends big on lobbying. In fact, they've spent so much, they've spent more than big oil. And you also won't believe what this teachers union leader is saying in California. So the head of the Los Angeles Teachers Union said, there is no such thing as learning loss. Despite evidence of massive educational declines due to a year of remote learning. So this is the head of the teachers union. So like, there's no learning loss. You haven't lost any capability in your education, and you haven't lost any traction in your education just because you've been home and learning remotely. So Cecily Mayart Cruz, a nice hyphenated name, president of the United Teachers Los Angeles, told the LA magazine that, quote, it's okay that our babies may not have learned all their times tables. So it's okay that our babies may not have learned their times tables. They learned resilience. They learned survival. They learned critical thinking skills. They know the difference between a riot and a protest. They know the words insurrection and coup. What does that have to do with reading, writing, and arithmetic? And this just goes to show you that the union in LA and the teachers unions across America, not the rank and file teachers, the teachers unions, the tools that run the teachers unions, and they are complete tools, are not about the children. They are not even about education. They're about looking at kids as dollar signs, and they are about looking at kids as something that they can completely and utterly brainwash. Again, this is what the teacher said. She said, the students learned about survival. They learned critical thinking skills. They know the difference now between a riot and a protest. They know the words insurrection and coup. Well, I'm just wondering, is this same teachers union president teaching the children about the BLM riots? Were they riots or were they peaceful protests? I'm sure he's, can only imagine what she's teaching them. I mean, I'm sure it's anything but the truth because that's the way things are. And of course, then we've also talked about the Virginia Education Department advises teachers to avoid teaching about Muslim extremism. We talked about that on the last podcast. And then there is something that happened that is absolutely hysterical, podcast listeners. It's absolutely hysterical. And that is in Henrico County, Virginia. Okay. I actually know this county somewhat well. Henrico County, Virginia, the school board held their regular meeting. And like all meetings, you have to sign up in advance. You sign your name. Perhaps it's online. Perhaps there's just a sign-up sheet outside the school board meeting. It's one or the other. And then your name is called in order. And when it's your turn, you typically have a couple of minutes to speak. Except that in Henrico County, Virginia, someone played a hilarious Simpsons prank on that school board. And so reported in the Huffington Post, of all places, Mark and the Millennials, we're trying to pull stories from all over. But this is just really funny, podcast listeners. The Simpsons' 33rd season won't begin until September 26th, but the members of a Virginia school board inadvertently got a sneak peek of sorts from a group of pranksters. It seems that most of the names listed to be called for public comment at Thursday's meeting of the Henrico School Board actually weren't real names. They were made up. In a twist that is reminiscent of Bart Simpson prank calling Moe's Tavern with laughably fake names, some of the people who signed up to speak included the naughtily named Phil McCracken, Eileen Dover, and Wayne Kerr. Other names of those who supposedly requested public comment at the school board included Suk Maddock, Ophelia McCulk, and Don Kadek. Not surprisingly, none of these people actually showed up because it was a prank. But the thing is, at all school boards, the school board hearings are not just publicized, they're recorded. Yes, that's right, podcast listeners. They are recorded. And so someone got this idea of signing up these prankster fake names, which are also very funny because they are spelled very different from the actual intent, but sort of sounds that way when the person reading the names is reading them because it's phonetic. And the person is copying off of the Simpsons because Bart Simpson used to always call Moe's Tavern and say, "Hey, Mo, is so-and-so there?" And then Mo would go, oh, okay. And he would like yell at the bar, "Hey, so-and-so, there's a call. So-and-so, there's a call." And of course it was a prank. And that same kind of name or play on names was used. Well, that was what was used at the Henrico School Board meeting. Podcast listeners, you're going to love this. Listen very closely. Here is the head of the school board calling out the names on the list and waiting for people to show up to speak. But of course they weren't there because it was a prank. We have that clip and here it is.
You answer to us, and I'm asking that you do not pass this policy in Virginia.
Thank you so much, Ms. Thomas. We do appreciate you.
Here it comes.
Phil McCracken. Phil McCracken. Sook Mahidic. Mahidic. Ophelia McHawk. Ophelia McHawk. Eileen Dover. Eileen Dover.
That was Ophelia McHawk. So, and then Eileen Dover. And so someone had a really terrific sense of humor. Way to go, because these days with the school boards, so many of them becoming just openly woke and encouraging and implementing CRT and other quote unquote anti-racism policies. Someone really got the Henrico School Board back, and it was pretty hysterical. Just to remind you, podcast listeners, just to remind you about Bart Simpson and what he would do and where this person got this idea. We have a clip from Bart Simpson calling Moe's Tavern with one such prank call. And we have that clip, and here it is.
Moe's Tavern, where the elite meet to drink.
Yeah, hello. Is Mike there? Last name, Roch.
Hold on, I'll check. My crotch! My crotch! Hey, has anybody seen my crotch lately? Listen to me, you little puke. One of these days I'm gonna catch you, and I'm gonna carve my name on your back with an ice pick.
So that same exact thing, that's where the person got the idea, who signed up these names at the Henrico School Board meeting. Great job. I mean, this is what we should be doing across America, just to demonstrate to Democrats that there is a sense of humor, number one, and that we don't take their policy decisions seriously, because most of their policy decisions are just contrary to what is required to properly educate public school children. That is my personal opinion, but man, this is just a home run. So great job.